The following is a production of Neural Network Media and is completely AI generated. It is intended for entertainment and educational purposes only.
It is Monday, April 20th, 2026, and you are listening to The Neural Right, your daily dose of common sense in a crazy world. I'm Ashley Thorne, and I am feeling absolutely dangerous today.
And I'm Walter Blackwood, joining you once again in the Situation Room, where, roughly speaking, we try to make sense of the chaos before it devours us whole. It's a day of significant gravity, Ashley.
It really is, and honestly, after we talked yesterday about that insane $2 billion accounting error in California, and Justice Sotomayor's public apology to Kavanaugh, today feels like a massive shift in momentum.
It's a restoration of the hierarchy in some sense. We've got a lot to unpack, from the front lines of the blockade in the Gulf to the dismantling of the DEI bureaucracy right here at home. It's a packed episode.
It is an action-packed episode. But Walter, you've been looking at the money coming in for the midterms, and let's be real, it is absolutely staggering.
Well, that's the thing. You see, money is a proxy for belief. It's the way the individual signals where they want the architecture of the future to stand. And according to the latest filings, the NRCC is having a record-breaking season.
A scoff? Record-breaking? It's a total blowout.
It really is. Roughly speaking, the National Republican Congressional Committee, led by Richard Hudson, just reported a haul of $47.1 million for the first quarter of 2026. That is the largest Q1 in the history of the committee. And Speaker Mike Johnson personally brought in $34 million. It's an explosion of capital.
Because people are tired of being broke, Walter. Let's be real. People see where the other side is taking the country, and they're voting with their wallets before they even hit the ballot box. But look at the Democrats. Act Blue reported $568 million. Now, a lot of that is focused on specific Senate races, like James Tallarico in Texas shattering records with $27 million in a single quarter.
Yes, but 97% of his donations were under $100, which indicates a very localized, very intense grassroots energy. It's no joke, man. You're seeing the country preparing for a fundamental confrontation of values.
Especially with this our power, our country pivot to rural voters. I'm sorry, but do they really think farmers are going to buy what they're selling after the last 2 years?
Well, that's the question of the day. And that brings us to what's happening at the USDA, because that's where the actual policy war is being won right now.
Exactly. And I'll take this one, Walter, because I am obsessed with what Secretary Brooke Rollins is doing. She is taking a literal chainsaw to the DEI bureaucracy.
It's a necessary pruning.
It's more than pruning. Representative Mark Harris just introduced a bill today to strike every single mention of diversity, equity, and inclusion from USDA programs. Every single word, Walter.
Right.
Rollins has already terminated over 145 DEI-focused awards. We're talking about a savings of $148 million of taxpayer money that was basically being used as a slush fund for activists.
It's the Victimhood Industrial Complex being defunded. You see, when the state starts prioritizing immutable characteristics over actual agricultural productivity, you're not just being fair, you're actively undermining the food security of the nation. It's the devouring mother archetype in bureaucratic form.
Exactly. The proposed 2027 budget mentions the word woke 34 times, and it's always followed by the word cut. It's a 19% reduction in discretionary spending to eliminate programs that the administration says are, quote, extraneous and irrelevant.
And, of course, you have the pushback, like this farmer in Texas, Diana Padilla, who's complaining because her $7 million grant was revoked. She claims it destroys community outreach.
Community outreach? Since when did outreach become more important than growing crops? Here's the reality, Walter. The USDA is finally realizing their job is to help people feed the country, not to social engineer the heartland. Well, it's a restoration of the boundary.
If you don't have a boundary between political ideology and essential services, the whole structure collapses, which is exactly what we're seeing in New York City right now. It's truly tragic, man.
Oh, don't even get me started on New York. How is that socialist experiment going for them, Walter?
Oh, not well, Ashley. Not well at all. We are at the 100-day mark of Mayor Zoran Mamdani, the city's first Democratic Socialist mayor. And the Emerson College poll that just dropped today it's a disaster for the radical left.
Shut up. What are the numbers?
59% of New Yorkers believe the city is on the wrong track. 59%. And it's not just the wealthy people leaving for Florida, it's the working class. 68% of Hispanic voters and 64% of Asian voters say the city is heading toward a cliff.
Because they're the ones dealing with the crime and the shelter costs. Let's be real. The hipster Tammany Hall machine cared more about their radical theories than keeping the subways safe. And now even Eric Adams is out there doing an I told you so interviews.
It's a crisis of competence. Roughly speaking, you can't run a metropolis based on resentment and postmodern grievances. It just doesn't work. The architecture of the city requires order, and Mamdani is offering nothing but chaos and ideological purity. It's a total mess. And you know what else is a mess? The medical establishment. But today we finally saw someone fighting back. The Do No Harm petition to the FTC. Yes, I love this. The medical advocacy group Do No Harm has officially asked the Federal Trade Commission to investigate the American Psychological Association for deceptive practices.
That's significant.
It's huge. They caught the APA talking out of both sides of their mouth. In 2025, the APA told the FTC that there was a lack of long-term scientific evidence for child sex changes. But then their 2024 official policy says that non-affirmation is basically violence. It's a double bind. They are lying to the regulators to avoid a crackdown while continuing to push a radical, unproven model on vulnerable children. It's a betrayal of the Hippocratic Oath at the highest level. These children are being used as pawns in an ideological game, and the permanent damage being done to their bodies, it's no joke, man.
It really isn't, and it's why detransitioners are finally getting their day in court. But Walter, I want to pivot for a second, because amidst all this chaos, there's something actually quite beautiful happening in D.C. right now.
The America Reads the Bible movement.
Yes! I mean, I'm the anti-victim. I usually don't get all sentimental, but seeing 500 leaders gather to read the entire Bible aloud, from Genesis to Revelation, that's a statement.
It's a reclaiming of the foundation. It's the American spirit at 250, roughly speaking. We are trying to find the bedrock of our culture again. President Trump is even scheduled to read from 2 Chronicles tomorrow, a passage about prayer and repentance.
I'm sure that's triggering the right people, but look, while we're talking about bedrock, we have to talk about the tragedy at the Nürburgring this weekend. The Green Hell lived up to its name.
A 7-car pileup, and we lost Juha Miettinen, 66 years old, a veteran of the racing family.
It was horrific. High speed, fluid on the track. Even Max Verstappen put out a statement about the danger. It really brings up that question of risk versus responsibility.
Well, that's the architecture of life, isn't it? We pursue excellence in the face of death, but sometimes the chaos is just too much. But even in that darkness, we saw Fillmore the dog.
I saw that. The hero dog in Tustin who woke the family up at 4:30 in the morning because the garage was on fire. And the doctors from the SIA who rushed in to help. It's the individual taking responsibility in a moment of crisis. It's the antidote to the nihilism we see everywhere else. We need more dogs and fewer socialists. That's my takeaway. Well, roughly speaking, yes. Okay, we need to take a quick break to talk about the man who makes this entire network possible, and then we are going deep on the Iran blockade. Stay with us.
Before we get back to the analysis, let's deal with a hard reality. Real independence isn't free. This entire network, from this show to our flagship, The Neural Daily, exists because one man, Eric Christensen, decided to build it himself. He didn't ask for a government grant. He invested his own capital and technical expertise to architect a media platform that respects your intelligence. If you value that kind of meritocratic building, back it up. And don't limit yourself to just the politics. Get the full strategic picture by subscribing to the Neural Daily and the rest of the network. Support the builder and you support the mission. All right, we are back and we have to talk about what's happening in the Gulf of Oman. Because roughly speaking, the world is holding its breath. Let's be real. The no more Mr. Nice Guy era didn't just start. It just threw a kinetic round through the engine room of an Iranian cargo ship.
It's no joke, man. On Sunday, the USS Spruance, a guided missile destroyer, intercepted the MV Tuska, an Iranian-flagged vessel nearly 900 feet long. And this wasn't just a polite request to pull over.
Not at all. There was a 6-hour standoff. The Navy gave them every chance to comply with the blockade. But when they refused, they disabled them. They fired a kinetic round into the engine room. Do you realize the level of resolve that requires? To definitively disable a foreign vessel in international waters to enforce a blockade? It's a complete departure from the strategic patience of the last decade. It's a get-a-helmet moment for the Iranian regime. President Trump confirmed it on Truth Social. He basically said, we have full custody of the ship, and we're seeing what's on board. Which, let's be honest, probably isn't just goat cheese and dates. Roughly speaking, this blockade is costing the Iranian economy $500 million a day. And as the ceasefire deadline of April 22nd approaches, which is only 2 days away, the rhetoric has reached a fever pitch. Trump isn't just threatening ships anymore, he's talking about infrastructure. Right, he said if they don't sign the deal, he's going after bridges and power plants. Excuse me? That is how you negotiate from a position of strength.
But the risk of retaliation, the chaos dragon of global conflict, it's looming over everything. Oil prices are already surging. People are terrified. It's a tragedy that it has come to this. But when you have a regime that refuses to stop its aggression...
They only understand one language, Walter, and it's not the language of the State Department dinner parties. It's the language of a kinetic round hitting an engine.
It's the restoration of the boundary of international law. If a blockade is declared, it must be enforced or the law itself becomes a parody. But you see, the Iranian regime has operated for so long under the assumption that the West was too kind or too divided to act. And now they're facing a brick wall.
They're facing a brick wall with a 5-inch gun on it, and the Navy boarding party. Can you imagine the look on those guys' faces when the Marines came over the side? Here's the reality. We have been paying for this Navy for decades. It's nice to see it finally being used to protect our interests and put an end to this narco-terrorist nonsense.
It is a pivot toward maximum strength, but it's bloody complicated. If the talks fail on the 22nd and Trump follows through on hitting power plants, we are looking at a fundamental shift in the architecture of the Middle East. It could lead to a massive humanitarian crisis.
I'm sorry, but whose fault is that? Is it our fault for enforcing a blockade on a state that sponsors terror? Or is it their fault for being a state that sponsors terror? Personal responsibility applies to nations too, Walter.
Well, that's the thing. It's the tragedy of the individual caught under a tyrannical regime. The people of Iran aren't the ones choosing to defy the blockade. They're the ones who will be in the dark if the power plants go.
Then they should find new leaders. I know. Easier said than done. But look at the alternative. We let them keep shipping whatever they want. We let them keep building their nukes. We let them keep destabilizing the region. How many more people die then?
You're not wrong, roughly speaking. It's the choice between a sharp, localized conflict now or a catastrophic global one later. It's a moral, agonizing choice.
I don't think it's that agonizing for the guy in the Oval Office. He seems pretty clear on what no more Mr. Nice Guy means.
Clearly. But we also have to look at the domestic side of this, because as this escalation happens abroad, we're seeing a simultaneous crackdown on fraud and bureaucratic overreach at home.
You mean the DOJ's new National Fraud Enforcement Division?
Yes, it's all connected. It's a return to the competence crisis. The administration is realizing that to project strength abroad, you can't be hollowed out by corruption at home. They're going after the pandemic relief fraud. They're going after the NGOs.
It's about time. If we're going to be the sane people left, we have to actually have a system that works. Whether it's the USDA cutting the woke awards or the DOJ finally chasing down the billions that were stolen during the lockdowns, it's all part of the same cleanup. It's cleaning the room on a national scale, roughly speaking. You see, when the hierarchy is corrupted by fraud and ideological possession, the whole structure becomes unstable. These moves today, the blockade, the DEI cuts, the APA investigation, they are all attempts to stabilize the architecture of being for the American citizen. And I am here for it. I am so tired of the victimhood narrative. Today was a day for the builders and the enforcers. It's a good day, Walter. It's a day of significant responsibility, and I hope we have the courage to see it through. It's no joke, man. It never is with you, but that's why we're a good team. I bring the fire, you bring the the Kermit the Frog reading Dostoevsky vibes.
Well, somebody has to think about the lobsters, Ashley.
Exactly. Okay, folks, that is all the time we have for today. The 22nd is coming fast, and you can bet we'll be right here in the Situation Room when that clock hits 0.
Let's hope for a peaceful resolution, but let's prepare for the truth, whatever it need be.
Life is hard. Get a helmet. I'm Ashley Thorne.
And I am Walter Blackwood. Thank you for joining us.
This has been The Neural Right. We'll see you tomorrow.
Stay sovereign and clean your room.